Imagine you're making your debut, and the crowd barely knows your name. But in just 90 minutes, people are already calling you the next Ronaldo. Legends are shivering that you might steal their records. But then, these are the miraculous football talents the world never fully saw.
Now this might sound crazy.
I demand him to stay because he's the player I want to play with. Because the way he was an animal. He could shoot from every angle. Nobody could tackle him. Nobody could take the ball. He was a pure animal. But it lasted for a short time.
Now don't overthink about this.
Because behind that animal was a story that started back in 1982. When Adriano was just a barefoot kid in Brazil who believed football was the only gift he had in life. So he played it for survival. That even after matches, you would see him alone in the streets, kicking the ball against walls over and over again. But little did he know that those lonely kicks were preparing him for shooting power, which even legends fail to break in PS history. But in case you doubt the stories, just remember his 40-yard free kick in his early match at Inter. It was clocked at nearly 144 kilometers per hour. To put that in perspective, Roberto Carlos's world-famous free kick against France was around 137 kilometers per hour. So at just 18, this dude was not only copying legends, he was outperforming. But no one knew that Adriano was not doing all this to impress the world. He was doing it only for one person, his father, who regardless of being poor, fought so hard to get him into the game. And even when he moved to Italy, his father called him every single day, reminding him about his barefoot life in Brazil, and both of them would cry during those calls. And that love made Adriano even more unstoppable. He trained harder than anyone else, and his skill became so unbelievable that at just 19, fans began calling him Nazario's successor. And honestly, he was even more physically gifted than Nazario. But then Adriano received a call that changed everything.
Hello?
Adriano, are you somewhere you can sit?
Yeah, what happened?
It's your dad. He passed away this morning.
From that moment, Adriano was not Adriano anymore. Because, his father was everything to him. So just to feel alive, he turned to beer and nightlife, which then destroyed his talent forever. But at least the reason makes sense, unlike this player who gave up on football just because of being told he was better than Messi. And for real, he had the blood of Messi. Because back in the year 1846, a couple in Catalonia had two sons. And one of those sons started a family line, which many generations later gave birth to Messi. Then the other son continued a family line, which many years later produced Boyan in 1990. Now, these two grew up in completely different worlds, and even after meeting at La Masia, they knew nothing about their connection. People could only notice something when they look at their hair and their play style, because they both had insane creativity on the ball, especially Boyan. But since Messi was older than him, he made it first to Barcelona's first team and started taking the world by storm.
Immens Messi, encara 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 Messi, gol, 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 gol.
Now the right time came, Boyan came as well. And people who recall that time say,
once upon a time, there were two Messis on the field.
You see, Boyan's way of losing markers was so insane that people started saying he was somehow better than Messi. Now that praise gave him anxiety attacks and made him quit football. But if you can't understand that, then think about this dude who had a very beautiful voice as a kid. Most people praised him, but no one knew this.
It was hard for me being that young and being in the industry and not knowing where to turn, and everyone, telling me they loved me and, just turn their back.
So guys' anxiety attacks are a real thing in some people. And that was the case with Boyan. That pressure and comparisons felt so much for him to handle that he decided to leave the club as early as possible. And sadly, he never found peace of mind anywhere he went. But it's like these two ruined themselves. Now, these two were very unlucky. First is a player who refused to play until he was paid more. And seriously, coaches could sacrifice anything, even if it meant selling the entire stadium.
What?
But this is half a joke, half serious, because Diener was just so special. He had the speed and skill of Neymar, the spirit of Ronaldinho, and the efficiency of Ronaldo. But most people in the world never knew Brazil was having such a special talent. So when a move to one of the famous clubs in Europe came, it felt to people in Brazil like the moment the world would finally know what they had. And the good news is, everything went well. Diener's move to Stuttgart was confirmed. But before he get his passport, Diener has to first say goodbye to his family and friends. So he moved around with his Mitsubishi Eclipse, visiting various places in Brazil before his move. But then, the Mitsubishi Eclipse lost control and crashed into a tree. The crash wasn't that severe to kill him, but what killed him was the seatbelt, which strangled his neck till death, making it the biggest loss in Brazil's football history. But now, we're moving on to the biggest loss in world football history, and it all started when African countries began gaining independence. Now, this country called Zambia became independent on October 24, 1964, and was led by a man known as KK, or Kenneth Kaunda, who loved football so much that he made sure he helped create a national team almost immediately after independence. And I don't know if these guys were using some kind of charm or it was just pure talent, because in just a few years, they became absolutely incredible. Imagine defeating giants of Europe like this.
Azione regolare, dice l'arbitro. Busonda, attenzione, palla per Baglia, tiro! Sacconi, arriva a sostegno l'altro Baglia. E segna! Johnson Vaglia 3-0, una padronanza incredibile. La Germania ha battuto 4-1 la Tunisia, intanto attenzione, c'è ancora Vaglia e segna.
This team of unknowns made most big nations in the world shake, because very soon the 1994 World Cup was about to commence, and this African team was ready to make history. Now on April 27th, 1993, as the team was traveling to Senegal for their World Cup qualifier, one of the aircraft's engines started showing problems during the flight, so the pilot decided to shut down. And that was a genius idea. But by mistake, he switched off the working engine instead, and the plane lost control and crashed into the Atlantic Ocean just off the coast of Gabon, killing all the players of the team and the coaching staff, becoming one of the darkest days in world football history. But things got even more emotional when the bodies of the players were brought to their home stadium before burial.
And I ask you that you brought me up here at such a time as this, when other men were better, they could have been here. But you brought me, Lord, in order to proclaim your name as our God. Father, I thank you. I thank you, God.